Welcome to today's video. I'm excited because today we're going to talk about all the things you need to know before moving to Tucson, told to you from someone who's lived in Tucson my whole life. Hey, I'm Rich, and if this is your very first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about lifestyle, real estate, and new builds in Tucson, Arizona, then you have come to the right place. Make sure you hit that subscribe button for me and tap the little bell for notifications so you can be the very first to learn everything that you want to know. My family has lived in Tucson for over 200 years. It's the city that I love most and the city that I know best. With over 15 years of experience as both a certified real estate appraiser and a real estate agent here in Tucson, I get calls and texts every single day from people making a move to Tucson, and I love it. So whether you're moving today or whether you're moving a year from today, let's get connected. You can call, text, email, or schedule a free Zoom consult. I'm happy to help make your move smooth anywhere in town. So let's jump right in. Now, the first thing that we have to talk about is probably one of the more obvious ones. It's hot here in the desert. I mean, for 4 months of the year, we're battling triple digits, 105, 110. And there's something that happens. If you've experienced heat over 100 degrees before, it's like, it starts to feel good when it's building in the 90s. And then when you hit triple digits, like the first time you walk out and it's 114 degrees and you're just like under a magnifying glass on your way to the car, it's something unique. It's something unique for sure. So definitely something to be aware of. The summers are hot, and when we get triple digits, it can definitely be brutal. You're definitely going to be limited in what you can do outdoors. You're definitely going to be limited in terms of what you can do with children. I have 2 small children, so, in the middle of the summer, it's kind of a bummer because our kids love being outside. So, if it's not shaded, and certainly can't do it in the middle of the day because it's just too hot. But it can be a task even getting from your house to the car, because the car is going to be 9,000 degrees on the inside. So if you don't have a remote start, or if you don't have the ability to go out there and start the car to cool it off a little bit, those first couple minutes in the car in the dead of summer are gonna be warm for sure. And if you're traveling with little kids, something else to consider. Now, one thing that I never really understood about Tucson is, for as hot as it is and as dry as it is, people love water, but we don't have any like big water parks. Like, what's up with Six Flags bringing us a place to enjoy some nice, cool, refreshing lounge time by the pool? Haven't seen that. When I grew up in Tucson, there was a place called Justin's Water Park on the northwest side of town. Loved that place. It wasn't that extravagant. It had a wave pool, it had a couple slides, it was better than nothing for sure. But there's no water parks here, so that's kind of weird. Hopefully, maybe sometime in the future we'll get that. There's certainly plenty of space. I feel like there's plenty of demand. Let me know what you think. One of the weird things that I want to make sure you know about in Tucson is what's called an urban heat island. Now, that essentially what that means is that because there's in a densely populated part of Tucson, like central Tucson, where there's a lot of roadways, pavement, buildings, a lot of concrete, the daytime heat will be stored in all of the building components and all of the infrastructure. It doesn't really cool down much in the summertime. I mean, it goes from like 110 to like 99. And so walking out your door in the middle of summertime on some of those really hot days at night, and then, you walk out your door at 8 o'clock at night and it's still 99 degrees outside. It's not awesome, but we get through it. So definitely something to be prepared for. The summers are definitely going to be warm, not only in the daytime, but for those couple months when the heat is at an all-time high. You're going to walk out your door in the middle of the night or after dark, and it's still going to be pretty warm. Now, the good thing is that summer's only 3-4 months long, at least the parts of summer that are brutal, like I kind of explained. That would mean that we have 8 months of pretty temperate weather. We're a destination for so many people traveling from colder destinations because it's beautiful. We get a very dry climate. It tends to be not super humid most of the year, and for the times that it's not peak heat in the summertime, we're enjoying 60, 70-degree days, warm sun, clear skies, lots of you can be swimming, hanging out by the pool in January, February in some cases because it's plenty warm out. Now the pool might not be that warm, but certainly you can catch some rays. So during those months, it is definitely a time to take advantage and make up for the outdoor activities that you couldn't necessarily do when it was 110 degrees outside. So next, let's talk about the neighborhoods and lifestyle a little bit of Tucson. Now, being a native Tucsoner myself, I've lived all over the city. I lived downtown, I lived northwest, I lived central, I lived on the east side. So I've really had an opportunity to get a feel for all sorts of different areas of the city. And what I can tell you is there's a lot of diversity in the neighborhoods themselves. We've got a wide range from new construction homes to old historic homes, like homes built in the late 1800s, even early 1900s. So you've got a wide range, lots of unique character in some of the homes. You've got lot sizes, which are really small to really large. You've got, tract housing, which is pretty much, just pumping out houses based on the same house running down the block, or large custom bespoke properties on large parcels of land. So you've got a huge diversity in the type of properties that are available in and around Tucson. You also have a lot of difference that you can choose from in terms of what type of scenery you like. If you like the urban historic vibe with a vibrant nightlife, downtown central Tucson by the University of Arizona could be a great location for that. High walkability, lots of great restaurants and bars. You've got the University of Arizona that does a lot of sporting events, so you can plug into that. You've got live music, you've got lots of bars. So if you're into that vibe, Tucson definitely accommodates that. If you are more interested in more of the scenic route, then you've got places like Oro Valley and Marana, which a little bit more of a suburb of Tucson and still an easy commute to everything. You've got restaurants, amenities, grocery stores, all that stuff close enough, but you're able to take advantage of some incredible views of the Santa Catalina Mountains and being a little bit outside of the hustle bustle of the city. Now, even with all of that diversity, Tucson still has a small town feel. It's really hard to kind of explain. All I can say is I've traveled in lots of different places in the US, and Tucson always feels like the smallest big city I've ever been to. It's spread over a pretty wide area. It's not a small city, but people still look you in the eye when you're walking towards them. People still open doors. The manners are still there. It's hard to really define. It's more of just a feel. I think people are more approachable here in Tucson. I think the vibe and the culture in Tucson is very welcoming, which I think for a lot of people that visit Tucson, it adds to that Tucson charm. And I think that that's something very unique that I would want to know if I wasn't already a local in Tucson. Now, I don't know about you, but I love dogs. And so I've had dogs my entire life. We've got a great little dog named Abby, and we love to take her wherever we can with us. So whether it's at a restaurant, to a park, on a hiking trail, Tucson is a very dog-friendly area. It's a very dog-friendly city. So it's pretty common that you're going to see dogs out and about. There's lots of patio spaces that allow dogs. Most restaurants will allow dogs on their patio areas. There's lots of dog parks. And in general, Tucson and the people in Tucson are very dog-friendly people. It's a very social city as well. Now, there's been a lot of changes in the last 10, 15 years, specifically in areas like near the University of Arizona and downtown Tucson. We've seen rapid growth and remodeling of some of the old buildings, and then building brand new establishments that are housing some pretty incredible places to eat, restaurants, bars, attractions, music venues, all sorts of cool stuff. Tucson was actually named the city of gastronomy. Now, if you don't know what gastronomy is, you can Google it like I had to, because I wasn't sure either. Apparently, what it means is that it is a term that means it's a destination for foodies. And so that's a good thing if you like food. We've got a diverse menu of food. You know, the most notable would be our Mexican food, because we are in such close proximity to the Mexican border. We get a lot of that influence that comes into our beautiful city, and that influences, you know, the food and the range of food that we have. And we have some of the best Mexican food that I've ever tasted. So if you're in town or you're planning on living here, I'm sure you can look forward to tasting some of that. Now, if you like outdoors, we have quite a bit of city parks. Two of the most notable parks that are also the largest would be Reid Park. Reid Park houses a big zoo. We have elephants and giraffes there, rhinos, which is kind of cool, right in the middle of the city. It's a large park. It's got 18-hole golf course, but it's also got dog parks, picnic areas, play areas for the kids. It has a little man-made lake. Not really a lake, it's pretty small, but it's got some water. It's got like a cascading little small river that runs through this grass area, which is kind of cool. So if you like outdoor stuff and you want to be in the city, that's a great park to check out. The other one that's large is Himmel Park. That's located near the University of Arizona. They've got tennis courts, pickleball courts, walking paths, baseball fields, bocce ball, just huge open grass areas, play place for the kids. So there's actually even a library there. So they've got some really cool parks to check out if you like being outdoors. And the other thing is, we've got 5 different mountain ranges surrounding Tucson. So if you like more of the natural outdoor activities, hiking, biking, camping, all that sort of stuff, you've got plenty to choose from there as well. So with that, let's talk a little bit about the mountain ranges that surround Tucson. There are 5 of them, and I'm going to try to remember these. So we got the Santa Catalina Mountains, which are probably the most predominant and closest mountain range to Tucson. That is what surrounds the northern border of Tucson and what the Catalina foothills area of Tucson backs up against. We've got the Rincon Mountains, the Tucson Mountains, the Santa Rita Mountains, and the Tortolita Mountains. Whew, I did it. Now, most of these mountains have incredible hiking trails. Much of them have mountain biking trails. Most of them have campsites available, whether you're backpacking and camping or you want to drive and have a dedicated space to set up camp. These mountain ranges are large. Like the largest one is 9,500 feet in the air. That's the elevation of it, which is pretty big. And so you're going to have expansive views. You're going to have miles and miles and miles of trails. If you're an outdoors person and you like to be in nature, then this is kind of the epicenter for you, because during the months that it's not sweltering hot, that's a great place to check out. Even in the summer times, it's nice to check out, because usually when you get to a certain elevation, you're going to drop 10, 20, 30 degrees in temperature. And even when it's 100 degrees outside, you might drop into an 80-degree day on the mountain. Now, one of the things that I think is unique about Tucson is we don't have a whole lot of light pollution, which means if you're into stargazing, looking up at the stars at night, that's a great place for that. I live right in the middle of the city, and I can see quite a bit of stars in my backyard in the middle of the night once the sun goes down. If you go outside of town a little bit, if you're in some of the suburbs of Tucson, Oro Valley, Catalina foothills, Vail, Sarita, Marana, man, the stars it lights up the sky. So definitely something that is unique to Tucson. If you enjoy sitting out on your back patio after dark and enjoying what the stars have to offer, I think that's another thing that's important. Now, as you could probably guess, we do have wildlife here, right? Shocker, I know. Something that's kind of unique that I wasn't even aware of until recently is that jaguars are actually native to parts of the area surrounding Tucson. And recently, in the last year, there's been 3 different jaguars that were spotted in the northwestern part of Tucson, up in the mountains, from people hiking and kind of checking out that area, exploring out in that area. We have jaguars, mountain lions, javelinas, coyotes, so there is quite a bit of wildlife in the area surrounding us in the natural desert. Now, something that's really weird is that even living in the middle of the city, I mean, I live almost smack dab in the middle of the city, in the most densely populated part of the city as you could really get. And I've been on morning runs, and there's literally just a coyote running right next to me. A coyote is a wild dog. And I've seen javelinas, which are wild pigs, running down the street. I mean, I live right in the middle of the city. I believe that they get in through the washes that kind of serve the middle of the city. But either way, we're miles from any natural desert that these creatures would live in. So it's just interesting that even in the middle of the city, we get these. Now, I've never been on a run and seen a jaguar. I've never been on a run and seen a mountain lion. So I don't think you have anything to worry about there. But, it is, you're going to see wildlife probably no matter where you live in Tucson. One of the mountain ranges that I wanted to touch on specifically is the Santa Catalina Mountains. There is a mountain called Mount Lemmon. Now, that's 30 miles northeast of downtown Tucson. It's an easy drive. I was up there a couple weeks ago with my little girl when it was really hot, one of those 100+ degree days. And we wanted to escape. We wanted to go outdoors and hang out, do a little picnic. So we escaped up to Mount Lemmon. It was about a 40-minute drive from our house in central Tucson all the way to the top of the mountain. And it went from 100+ degrees to 75 degrees. It was gorgeous. Pine trees, we were able to find some shade. We brought some food. So Mount Lemmon serves as one of the biggest recreational areas of the mountains surrounding Tucson. They've got a ski resort up there that's open during the snow season, and they've got 21 trails that are open. They've got several different lifts that service it. It's no like Colorado Black Diamond setup. So if you're an avid skier, don't get your hopes up too much, but it's a quick drive. It's less than an hour. You can be on the slopes enjoying an afternoon, eat some food, get some skiing or some snowboarding in, and then have a quick commute back into town. Mount Lemmon also has a little town at the top called Summer Haven. There's shops and restaurants up there. You go up there, you got to check out the cookie cabin. That's a staple up there. They have a little lunch spot. They've got 150 miles of trails on this mountain. They've got camping, they've got mountain biking trails. They have a lot of dedicated camping space. They even have a lake up there in Rose Canyon at the top, near the top of the mountain. Now, I mentioned a little bit of the stargazing. If you're into astronomy, there is a sky center at the top of Mount Lemmon that you can check out as well. And like I mentioned, for stargazers, Mount Lemmon does have a sky center, and it's the largest publicly accessed telescope in the Southwest. So if you're into that, definitely put it on your radar to go check it out. I've heard that they do like little wine tastings up there where you can like get a wine tasting done and be able to gaze under the stars, and they'll kind of direct you around and show you different things in up in space. So it's definitely cool. All right, so next thing you need to know about Tucson is the monsoons. A monsoon is a torrential storm that we get, and they typically happen between the months of about June and September, and they can be intense. Oftentimes during monsoon season, there are flash floods, which means we have so much rain concentrated in such a short period of time that they issue flood warnings for areas that definitely are in a floodplain, but sometimes even areas that aren't necessarily in a floodplain or a very slight floodplain, because of the amount of water that comes down as quick as it does. Oftentimes those places will be damaged as well. Now, I Googled some of the stats on the monsoon season. We actually get over 6 inches of rain annually during our monsoon season on average, with the highest recorded amount of rain being almost 14 inches during one monsoon season. Now, one of my favorite things about monsoon season is, of course, the rain. Being from the desert myself and having lived here, we don't get a whole lot of rain. I mean, when we do get it, we get a lot of it all at once. But in general, we go months and months and months, most of the year, without any type of rain. So I've always enjoyed when the storm clouds roll in and we start to cool off and it gets kind of dark and gloomy. If you're moving from a place or like that, or you've lived in a place like that, maybe that's not your cup of tea, but generally we tend to enjoy what we don't get a lot of. And for me, having been an Arizona boy living in Tucson, that's always been rain and stormy weather has always been kind of an exciting time for me. One of my other favorite things about monsoon season is the lightning storms. We get some of the most incredible lightning storms and lightning shows in the entire world. And Tucson has been listed as one of the most lightning prone places in the US. You ever seen those spectacular photos of lightning going sideways across the image? Well, most likely those photos were taken in Tucson or around Tucson because we get a lot of that sideways lightning. I don't know exactly why it happens, but during a lightning storm, you'll see strikes that appear to hit the ground, but you'll also see this like fractured effect that just goes across the entire sky and just lights up the horizon. It's pretty cool to watch. Now, although monsoons are pretty exciting for me, it does come with some downfall, it comes with bugs and it comes with humidity. Mosquitoes definitely kick up. You get different bugs like beetles and cicadas, which are noisy. So that comes with the territory of the monsoon season. The humidity definitely kicks up. The rainfall definitely cools the temperature down a little bit. But when it's still high 90s or even 100 degrees outside, and we now have 60 to 70% humidity, now it gets real soupy out during those monsoon seasons when it's really, really in full effect. Another thing to note during the monsoon seasons is because we're a desert landscape, sometimes we can get these huge dust storms called haboobs. And I know it's a funny word, but it essentially is a massive dust storm that creates really, really dangerous conditions for, travel, can shut down the airport, can shut down, road traffic. And it definitely can make it really difficult to be outside. They don't happen super frequently. I know several years ago, Phoenix, a little bit further north, got hit with a huge one. And I remember, driving past the baseball stadium in downtown Phoenix, and the entire stadium was covered in a layer of dust you could see from the freeway. I mean, it took them years to be able to cover up or to clean up all of the dust that storm created. So luckily, Tucson, we don't get too many. It's very rare that we're going to get a big dust storm, a big haboob like that, but it does happen occasionally. So next up, let's talk a little bit about transportation. Now, there really are only two freeways that service Tucson, I-10 and I-19. And for some large portions of Tucson, the freeway system isn't really conveniently accessed to those areas. Those areas would be the northeastern part of Tucson, Tanque Verde, East Tucson, and the northwestern part of Tucson. So that'd be like Catalina Foothills, Oro Valley. Those areas are kind of the way that the freeway system works. Those are probably the most inconvenient areas to be located in terms of getting to one of the major interstates. And I don't know if they have plans to put in, I haven't heard of any plans in the works to put in any new interstates, but that's the way that it is right now. The good thing is that even with the freeway system the way that it is currently, it's still an average commute in Tucson is under 30 minutes. So typically if I have to drive 30 minutes or more for something, it's pretty rare. To get from one side of town to the other, maybe you're looking at 45 minutes, even if most of that is having to go directly through city traffic instead of taking a freeway. Now, there is an international airport that's located in Tucson International Airport, and it's the second busiest airport right behind Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport up in the capital in Phoenix. Now, Tucson International Airport does have some nonstop destinations: Houston, Dallas, LA, Denver, some of the big hot spots, but it is relatively a smaller airport. It has one main terminal and two concourses, so it's definitely not an airport you're going to get lost in, but it is convenient, a lot more convenient than having to drive to the Phoenix airport when you can jump on a plane and pretty much meet your connecting flight in one of the other big airports in the US. There is an Air Force base that's located in Tucson called Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. It's a fairly large base. It's got 11,000 active service members that are part of the base. And between active service members, reservists, family members, and civilian contractors, it houses over 20,000 people as part of the base. The base maintains and operates 80 A-10 Thunderbolt jets, which are very commonly flying over Tucson doing drills. I know that hearing jets overhead is something that I've definitely become accustomed to. Now, along with the Thunderbolt airplanes, occasionally we'll get like a squadron of F-16s or some other fighter jets that come into town. The Thunderbolt airplanes are not, the A-10s are not that loud, but the other airplanes like the F-16, they can definitely be a little bit louder. So, you know, sometimes it is a little annoying to be, 8 o'clock at night and you hear like a thundering roar of an F-16 going over your house. Depending on where you live, it's probably more intense. Living in central Tucson, we're not that far from the Air Force Base. So what do you expect? If you're farther away, probably in some of the suburban areas, I'm sure that it's not that big of a deal. But if it is for you, keep that in mind. Davis-Monthan is a pretty active Air Force base. I Googled it for some more information. There's 47,000 operations from the Air Force Base annually. So yes, you're definitely going to see an increase in air travel. You're definitely going to hear a little bit of noise. So if that's your cup of tea, then perfect. Something that is kind of cool about Davis-Monthan Air Force Base is that part of the base is what's called the boneyard. And there's over 3,000 decommissioned airplanes that are sitting on the desert land, just sitting there for parts or salvage, or it's kind of cool to drive by. If you're in the southeastern part of Tucson, you can drive next to the boneyard and see these massive decommissioned airplanes, and there's just acres and acres and acres of these airplanes. So something kind of cool to check out. All right, coming up on the last item here is allergy season. We do have a drier climate, which generally I think favors allergies. Now, there is a specific time of year that some of the trees and the bushes and the native landscape produce pollen. Now, I'm not a very allergy prone person, but even me, I get allergies during that time of year. And so if you have a really big allergy problem, or if it's something that's kind of on your radar, that's why I wanted to mention it. Tucson ranks in the middle to lower range of the worst allergy places in the US, but even with that, it is still considered a significant allergy zone because of the native and non-native plants that exist here. It's also ranked in the top 50 in the US for seasonal allergies, with spring and fall being the worst seasons. Now, I think much like most places that have a lot of pollen, when the wind kicks up, the allergies tend to get a lot worse. The pollen kicks up and gets spread around a lot worse. So during monsoon season, when it tends to be a little bit windier, a little bit blowier, that could definitely play a part in having a worse, seasonal allergy versus the year before. So there you go. There is everything that you need to know about Tucson before you make your move here. If you like this video, make sure you hit that like button for me and be sure to subscribe for more. Now, as tradition, I like to end this with a little bit of inspiration, typically in the form of a quote. So here you go. If you know who you want to be, the how will up. And remember, whether you're moving today or a year from today, let's get connected. You can call, text, email, or schedule a free Zoom consult. I'm happy to help make your move smooth anywhere in town. Until next time, I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope to see you around town.